our 7 minutes of Scripture. And a very good Monday morning to you. I trust this is finding you well. We're a little bit later than we typically are, and that is just trying to get back into the swing of normal things. And as we tried to get the children back off to school today, we've got them in a homeschool co-op, and that location changed, so we had some shuffling to do and some other things. And so in the midst of the chaos, I apologize that I'm about an hour late with this, but thankfully it's recorded, so you can go back and watch it. But good morning and welcome. Well, I know that many have been updated and constantly look for more updates on Crusoe and what's happening within Crusoe. I would be, it would be a disservice to the residents of Crusoe if I didn't tell you, they're still working. They're still toiling and laboring, shoveling mud, working on houses, and flattening out driveways, things of that nature. And I believe everything is accessible now, all the side roads. And so they continue to need your prayers. And this is what we were talking about, a couple weeks in, everybody will begin to shift their focus elsewhere. And we definitely need to be praying for the folks in Louisiana. And as the Hurricane Ida made landfall yesterday, we need to be lifting them up in prayers, and the disaster teams, the electrical teams, the linemen, and all of them that making their way down there. We need to pray for them, as some of them are already staged. But this morning, along with those prayers, we would like to give you some scripture, and very quickly from the book of Galatians chapter 5 and verse 13. He says, "For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion for the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law was fulfilled in one word, even this, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Now, I don't have to spend a lot of time here. That first verse that I read to you, I wanted to encourage you with that we must understand that we haven't been called into liberty to sin, but rather we've been given liberty through Jesus Christ so that we could live a life free, that we're not bound by the law. And so he's saying, listen, we're not gonna use this liberty to sin. We're not gonna use this liberty to live a life that's displeasing unto God, but rather we're going to use this liberty to love one another. And so today, as you start Monday, as you begin your week, I want to encourage you that you use the grace and the freedom that you have in Jesus Christ. Love one another, encourage one another, and let's, even in these troubling times, I know when we look on a global scale, there's very troubling times. Even in these troubling times, let's be the hands and feet of Jesus. Let's continue to encourage one another, and let's continue to lift one another up in prayer. As far as the church goes, we have it kind of sealed up. It's dehumidifying. It's down in the 60s, if not the 50s by today. And we've got some exterior doors to replace, and then we're going to look at what it's going to take to get it going again. Until then, at the end of this week, we are going to put up a tent here on the property. And whenever the rain passes by midweek, we're going to put up a tent here on the property. And the first service underneath that tent, I want you to hear this, the first service underneath that tent will be September 9th at 7 p.m. And it's going to be a great time. Dr. Mark Golden will be preaching, and then we're going to have baptism afterwards. And then Friday night, September 10th, Pastor Ronald Roberts from downstate, he is coming up, and he will be preaching Friday night, September 10th. And then Saturday night at 7 p.m., September 11th, Pastor Randy Barton from the Anchor Baptist Church in Pisgah Forest will be preaching Saturday evening at 7 p.m. And then Sunday at 11 o'clock, we're going to gather underneath that tent. We're going to celebrate what we would typically call homecoming, or the church's anniversary. So we're going to celebrate that on Sunday, and Dr. Perry Brenley will be with us preaching that morning. So 4 wonderful opportunities to come worship underneath the tent. We want to encourage you, if you can make it, come to any one of those. It's going to be a blessing. And we will give you updates on progress of the church and what's happening, the next steps. Right now, we're just letting it dehumidify. And so you continue to keep us in your prayer.